repeat what you just said about the warm-up. Hi, everyone.
Hi. Last time we did that Q&A that we tried a rapid speed was because we had a 30-minute warm-up. And so as best friends with a 30-minute warm-up, we were going in and the energy was hot. We are repeating that process today. Anyway, Gabby just started the surrender experiment, and I was telling her how I felt that the whole time it was such a good example of leaning into small daily, like when my catalytic converter got stolen and just immediately being like, well, what are you going to do? You know, having a positive reframe, not one fucking example of boundaries. And then Gabby said she wrote it in her journal. Please elaborate.
Yeah. And I was like, wait, stop. We need to talk about it.
Hit record.
If you haven't read The Surrender Experiment, Meadow's been yelling about it for like a year. And I finally picked it up. Got it for Christmas. Finally, last night was like, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And I think that the reason, by the way, that I kept putting it off was because self-help type books turn me off so much. They're sometimes really dumb or really dense. And the in-between is very rare. This is a nice in-between.
Steeped in the patriarchy.
This is a very nice in-between where he's like telling a story. So it's not very dense and it's not hard to retain. And it's easy to relate to in certain ways. So what I like about it so far is I'm relating to it a lot because it's talking about essentially the premise so far from what I've read like 80 pages in. The premise that I've been taking so far is that like, what would happen if you were to just surrender to the flow of life and use your will, your free will in tandem with what life is presenting you with, which is a really beautiful message.
That was very succinct. Yeah.
Thank you. It's a very beautiful message. I feel like I'll have a lot to relate to that I kind of want to talk about. But going back to your point, one of the things that I wrote down, I was like, maybe I'll get to it later. And I said to Zoe this morning, I was like, I'm really curious to see like how it'll wrap up these questions. But now you're basically telling me it's not going to. I literally wrote in the book, what about boundaries? What about saying no? Because there has not been one example so far of like, he basically like, not to ruin it, but like he takes the experiment really seriously and is like, I'm literally
just
going to like exist to the extreme. And like, he's not saying like, this is what you need to do.
Right.
But like, there is not like one example, like even the example of like, okay, like maybe when, you know, he's like getting these job offers where it's like not exactly what he wants to do, but has like led him to then like a beautiful thing of like, basically like life being like, we recognize, like the universe being like, we recognize your skills. We recognize what you're great at. Like, here's an opportunity to let that flourish. Like, that's a really cool example. But like little things of like, okay, perfect example. Like when he was like, when the girl was like building her house on his land.
I didn't want to ruin it, but I was like, did she move in yet?
Like if I bought a plot of land and Meadow, or not even, one of Meadow's friends that I've never met a day in my life, I go out of town, I come back, and Meadow's friend is building a fucking house on my land.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, it's life's will. Like, let me, I would be like, I'd burn it down. I'd be like, you dumb bitch, get off my property.
And then I was like, people with trauma, people pleasers, people with no boundaries, people that have been in like abusive relationships that don't know how to say no. Like, where is that supposed to, so spoiler alert, there's no fucking example of that.
Okay, that's so interesting because this is what I was saying. I was telling my boyfriend this morning, I was like, I think you would like it. Read it. I was like,
and I do still think it's a beautiful case for those reframes, and not one book can cover everything, whatever. I just really wish that there was a little bit of that in there.
I think about like spirituality and like religion and like anything that I feel like people lean really heavily into. Sometimes when they're going to like an extreme of leaning into it, it's like coming from a place of being really lost, which I understand because we want to believe in something, we want to have faith in something, we want to feel like supported by something. But sometimes, and I've definitely been there, like me 2 years ago, like reading this book would have been like taking notes to like how to do this verbatim.
Right.
That's just not what you can do. Like you cannot take anybody's, not even you listening to this podcast, like
don't take ours.
Especially not the people, like you can't take everything that somebody says so literally. And it's about finding your own messages and relating to it in like the ways that you can. So it's like, if you read The Surrender Experiment or anything by Michael Singer, it's like, take it with a grain of salt. If you read any self-help, any sort of anything, it's all just additional tools in your toolkit. It's not the entire
for wherever they feel good. And that should be in different select places for you. And that should be different for everyone. Totally.
Oh,
totally.
Bummer that he doesn't actually like give examples.
I still stand by it as an expansive book for understanding that, like, really, I think me and my, 29 years of experience and my intellectual prowess is going to solve through things better than the universe.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
That's
so
what
I
do
like. Love the idea of being like, there is other key players at work that is not my responsibility to know the how or why. And I think that kind of practice of surrendering to that and being present enough to, work with the best that you have and whatever. I love it as the extreme version of that lesson.
Yes.
But there's a lot of other lessons that I like that you can't just get from that one book.
Yeah. Those are the two main things that I've taken away so far is one, exactly what you said of like, who am I to think that I can outthink life?
Exactly.
And two, the reminder of being much more present. Because, for example, like if we're talking about like our careers, you and I have such clear visions of what we want our career to look like. I don't want to speak for you, but I know that for me, when I'm
what they are.
No, but when I'm forced to verbalize it to somebody, especially somebody that I might not feel like super comfortable around, I get really stumped and it's very difficult for me. And it's not because I don't know what I want and it's not because I don't see this full picture. It's because like sometimes it's just hard to translate a feeling into words.
Totally.
So for somebody like, or for people like Meadow and I, that like, if Meadow and I sat down and you told us to sit quietly for 30 minutes and map out the next decade of our lives, like we could. Like we would be like, this is what I want to do and this is what I want the step together. And sometimes I know that I get really bogged down in the details of that. And I think one of the beautiful lessons of this book is to stop getting so caught up in what you think needs to happen in order to get to your end goal. Because a lot of times when you're so hyper-focused, and like Deepak Chopra's book talks about this a lot, 7 Spiritual Laws of Success, of like detaching to the outcome. Like
the how is not your responsibility.
To a certain extent, obviously, like you need to like, the way that we co-create, go buy our journal, the messaging of like, don't get so caught up in the minutia of like what you have created as like the steps that you need to follow to complete your dreams, and allow space for presence so that you can actually see it when life presents you with something that you like, an incredible opportunity that like may not have fallen in that timeline, but how did you even know that it was an option? So how could it have been in your timeline if you didn't know it existed?
Exactly. And
so that's what I think is cool about it.
The only way to really see that and recognize it as it's happening is to fucking be here now and to be present. Baby, it all comes back to it. I mean, that I think this anyway, but like I really can disseminate my entire spiritual knowledge and beliefs down to like, 3 core beliefs. And it's always the first one across every fucking different example of how people want to get the message is being here now and being present. That is the key for Deepak Chopra, for Ram Dass, for fucking Eckhart Tolle, for Michael Say. Like presence is the key to fucking everything.
Do you know what's already annoying me though about the book that I'm like worried?
That was the most you. Go ahead. Yeah, tell me.
Like the way that I haven't gotten deep into it. When I went to go close the book, I looked at the chapter titles to see, and I feel like it will address it later. But like the way that he has no regard for the fact that like we live in a capitalist society is really frustrating, because like not everybody could just live in the woods and like live off of $200. Yeah. First of all, it's not the 70s anymore. And like, like fucking
I think context is a big player in his story. There's no woman in the world that could live out this story verbatim.
No. Like even the thing when he was saying, like it really fucking annoyed me. The story of like, spoiler alert, he talks about one point where like he goes to spend some time in Mexico, like in these fields. Right. And like he was saying how he was like in a deep meditation, and then like he could hear voices, like he could hear male voices. And like he was starting to like have fear creep in, because obviously like your eyes are closed, you're meditating, like you're in a field in the middle of fucking nowhere and you just hear like other voices, like it's alarming. He like basically pushed through the fear, and it ended up being like these like really kind men who were like working on the field, and they like took him to their village, and like it was a great story. And I was like, that's so gorgeous. And I'm so glad you had that experience. Yeah, he stayed in meditation throughout the whole thing. But that's so exciting and I'm so happy for you. But like if I were in that position, like being a woman, like there's
no way.
Like, yeah, they could have been the best people ever, but like no way I would have kept my eyes closed. Like maybe I would have opened my eyes and like found out that they were great people, but like I wouldn't have been like, oh, I hear like male voices approaching me in the middle of an empty field and I'm going to like stay in meditation.
It's the same way where like when people go to like very extreme silent meditation retreats with monks and fucking Sri Lanka, do you know what I mean? It's people that have really dedicated to their life to an extreme experiment or extreme style. So, but it's so true. There's a lot of he's a fucking, cis white straight male in the 70s, like you said. Like the context and the circumstance is very supportive for him being the one to do this experiment. But I think if you find yourself in a position of privilege and able to do that experiment to then expand the ideas for other people, also very cool.
Right. That was what I was about to say too, is like sick that he was able to do this. And he does kind of mention that in the beginning where he's like, my story is so extreme, like none of you are going to relate to it, but there are going to be lessons that you're able to take from it and apply to your
different
life. And
pieces.
That I'm grateful for. So like, I like the book in that way. I just think take it with a grain of salt.
Did you read The Untethered Soul? I forget.
No, remember I started and I was like, I can't do this right now. I can't do it. It's too like heady for me.
That's fair.
It was too much at the time. Maybe I'll go back to it.
I really want you to read Rick Rubin's book. It's literally like if you took my entire philosophy and beliefs and put it into a fucking book. I can't say. Okay. He's not a music producer. He's quite literally a life coach. He's a creative coach. It's insane. Like you're going to read it and be like, oh my, like, you know how I used to always say, I want to be the Anthony Bourdain of mental health. Mm-hmm. I would like to be the Anthony Bourdain meets Rick Rubin of mental health. Like he is my North Star.
Have you announced on here what you announced on Instagram yesterday? I can't remember. I feel like you said it on Patreon.
We secretly told, I don't know if it was the podcast or Patreon, but I secretly have been talking about coaching. I mean, I guess we don't really elaborate, but we shared it 6 months ago.
Remind the people.
Oh, okay. Real quick, because I do really want to get into our day today because it's very exciting. Sam Aberhart, who's been on the podcast, who you all know, the founder of Mayfair, is a gorgeous, beautiful, expansive friend that really her friendship has just been so fucking beautiful in my life this past year. We like made a joke, get yourself friends that stop you in your tracks when you share a limiting belief. Like she does not take my bullshit in a really cool way. Same way as you, obviously. But I was talking to her the other day and she was sharing about how you can't be selectively in on something. Like the universe knows if you're in and open and a part of it or not, and you can't be in on your own terms. So a good example is like, oh, I really want a partner. I'm open to a partner, but I won't use apps. I want to meet them in a meet cute, like at Trader Joe's, and they need to be in my city. Like, no, if you want to fall in love and have a partner, you can't have, you're selectively in. Anyway, so we had this whole conversation about it and it was so beautiful and poignant. All week long this week, I've been just like sharing different things and going all in on Instagram as kind of like an exercise of it. And I realized that I hadn't shared a big career shift that some of you already know. If you don't know, I'm a mental health brand consultant. I help brands talk about mental health, imbue it into their ethos, or kind of like know how to express advocacy in a way that's authentic to them and also trauma informed in whatever way that looks like. It's so cool. And I, carved this straight out of a mental health professional career and I've loved it so much. But I also really, really kind of missed the artistic side of things and also wanted a way to combine my years of mental health training and that formal sort of unpacking and mental health counseling environment with all of this new knowledge I have of putting advocacy into marketing and into branding and into this like online community world. And so I kind of tailored my consulting services to offer it to individuals and artists and creatives. And it's been the most fulfilling thing I've ever done in my life. And I have been kind of just sharing it with amongst my community and not really sharing it publicly just because it's new and it's something, it's just a new adventure and it's been so fulfilling, but I haven't openly shared that. So in the nature of going all in on everything, I've now openly shared my new services.
Yay. And we're very excited about it. And she's so good at it. And it just makes perfect sense.
It makes perfect sense. It really is my combination of all my years of mental health training with all of this new knowledge and information I have about branding and marketing, and
which you're so good at.
The new age. Thank you. It's honestly the most fucking fun, soul nourishing, creative, interesting. One client that has openly shared about me on her podcast, so I feel comfortable talking about it, is Lauren Elizabeth. Lauren Elizabeth and I have been working together for like 6 months and it's so much fun. And it's so fucking cool to listen to her podcast and hear so many things that we talk about and how she then kind of shares it in real time. Oh my God. It's like my heart fucking explodes.
Well, yeah. And then it's so exciting and I'm so proud of you because you have such great, beautiful lessons that you share with all of us. And another thing that I really like about what you're doing is like the work, you put an emphasis on the internal just as much as the external. Cause personally, we talk a lot about like brands or things that like are so focused on external marketing, particularly within mental health or whatever. And like, they're not doing work internally to reflect it. And it just like doesn't make sense. There's just a huge gap.
Well, that frustration is exactly where this service was born from. Cause I was like,
right.
I gotta have a filter for people that want to actually do the work.
Yeah. And that's your boundary. But it's cool because then it's like you're actually making sure, like you're doing your full due diligence. Do you know what I mean?
Thank you. Totally. And I get it because brands don't think they're going to have to make this in their entire ethos. So they don't know the work that goes into it, or they want to be about it, but it feels too personal to bring it in. And I understand it, but it just gets to a certain level where it's like, where's the authenticity kind of? And I still love working with brands. It feels very different. Like in my head, like the way in which the meetings go, how I'm structured, what we're talking about is very, very different. I watched myself in this lane continue to try to do something that people were uninterested in. And I was like, okay, well then, what am I missing here? Like, how can I filter that to get this creatively fulfilled somewhere else? And the whole fucking thing took shadow work because no one has talked more shit on life coaches than
Probably
me.
on this podcast.
On this podcast, absolutely. And of the very nature of this service is very much mental health life coaching is so much, at least half of it. And so I really had to be like, okay, what am I doing here? And Jesse Israel is someone that fucking talked to me like every day for weeks about unpacking it and how him and I can be expanders for this field. And of course, like if you want to see the change, sometimes you go into the belly of the beast of it and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, we have a really good episode for you today. And I want to stop talking about myself and get to it.
No, I love it. Which, you know what? Is kind of a great transition that you just said. I want to stop talking about myself. Okay, so we just came out with our first ever digital downloadable journal.
It's so good.
So good. It's beautiful. So much love and work was put into this. It's called Co-Create. You can go download it on our website. You can download it. You can type right into it. You can print it, write it on there, or you can just take the prompts and like do it in your own journal. Yeah. Over 150 prompts. And there's like a beautiful intro about manifestation, the psychology behind it, the science behind it. It's really
almost
exciting.
Workbooky because we put a lot of like educational lessons and definitions and thought into the first half. Yeah.
We've definitely talked about it on the pod, but just want to remind you it's available for purchase and download indefinitely.
ThoughtsMadeVery.com. $15, baby. Best $15 you ever spent.
Oh, and if you're on our Patreon, top tier, because I did get DMs about this yesterday. If you want to join our Patreon to get a million things, but if you're specifically joining for like promo codes and early access, that is only available to tier 3.
Practically self-actualized. When you go on, it'll show you the different tiers and what there's different offerings for each one.
So if you would like 10% off of Co-Create, our new manifestation journal, join Patreon tier number 3. And there is
you would have gone promo code too.
Yeah, you would have gotten it on the hats too.
Just saying.
Anyway, tier number 3 really does big things. They all do big things, but
tier number 3 is getting a vlog, by the way. So if you guys are
it's going to already be live by the time this goes up.
Oh my God, it will already be live. So
it's going up on Friday. If you like, this is going up on Monday. It's
so good. Gabby, you really fucking did. Can we just take a second real quick? Because the vlog is so good. And we inadvertently, Gabby and I thought, because obviously we live in different cities. We talk about this in the vlog, but we were like, let's somewhat align. So it kind of makes sense. And inadvertently, we ended up like mine is very go, go, go and movement. And yours is more sit down and chatty. And then the balance, the transitions you did are so fucking funny in my morning.
Thank you.
Like,
no, it was perfect. It was
so
perfect.
Us.
It's us. I'm really excited to hear you guys' feedback. Also, I want to point out that I had to do a lot of releasing of my own ego when I was doing that because Meadow is really good at editing and I
just have a very specific style.
You're like, I love your vision. I love you are an artiste. And this vlog, like I just basically committed, like I just went back on YouTube and wow, I love the beautiful edits and all the things. Really thank you. In order to be consistent, like I can't shit out a video like that once a week. Like I just can't do it. Yeah. And like the vlogs that are going on Patreon right now, we're starting off monthly. So like we have more wiggle room with like being like, this like beautiful art creation. But like when I got your footage, I was so insecure and I was just like, mine is literally just me talking. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Blah, blah, blah. And then I had to like remind myself because somebody said this to us or someone said this to me recently. And I think I reiterated it to you. Or one of the reasons that you and I work so well as a business duo is because we are not interested for the most part in doing the exact same thing.
Exactly.
And we have very different strengths. And this vlog was a really good example of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where like our two strengths are coming together and it works.
And I didn't explain any context of what we were doing or why. The way that you sit down and talk about things is so inviting in. You actually made every point that you talked about mental health. I fucking am just running through a day. Ooh. Like, do you know what you did? You imbued mental health into skincare and to fucking journaling and prepping your day and organization and business. Like we are the perfect yin and yang. I just always do that. Like we just perfectly go like this. We are a power couple that is unfucking stoppable. And also I just want to, Gabby going back on YouTube is the most exciting thing in the world. And I want to shout her out and I want everyone to go watch her first video because it is amazing. And I can't wait to see more.
Oh my God,
I'm going to also try to join you on YouTube, but I'm scared about the consistency.
Yeah, because
my style's just different.
But it's so good. But it's hard. It's hard. It's hard to produce that once a week.
Right.
Anyway.
But we're around. Anyway, getting back to the journal.
How many times do we say, okay, anyway? Okay, anyway.
Take a shot of water.
We thought, or Michaela, this was Michaela's idea, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was Michaela's idea.
Michaela, just run our lives, please.
Literally.
If you don't know Michaela, she just came on the podcast. She does tarot readings for us on Patreon. She basically put together she put together the visuals for our journal and the design. She's
12 out of
best.
10.
12 out of 10. So we were thinking, we're like, what should we do for Valentine's Day week? The men are not going to come on the podcast right now.
Maybe we tried so hard. Everyone, I'm so sorry. We tried.
It's okay. It's fine.
In their time, in their own time.
We have time for the men to come on. We don't, So Michaela was like, why don't you guys do some self-love type questions from some of the prompts that are in the journal to give people a little taste of what they can expect in our amazing, amazing journal. Okay. So I picked a couple of questions.
Yeah. Gabby picked some beautiful questions. I don't know if you prepped. In my head, I was like, I should journal some of them out so I can come with that thoughtfulness. And then I ran out of time. So we are really going to be present and just share in real time with each other.
No, but I'm happy about this. And in the spirit of the surrender experiment, what does he do? Totally. He goes into those classes without prepping.
Totally.
I would have failed out of school if I did that, but I'm like, oh, it's so great that you're a genius. Like, so happy for you. Stick. Okay. I want to start with something that I'm starting towards the bottom of what I picked because
I only read them once, so I don't remember.
You said something interesting right before we started doing this section where you were like, I don't want to talk about myself anymore. And I was like, One of the questions was, what does it feel like in my body? These are all from the self-love section, by the way. What does it feel like in my body to think highly of myself?
Oh. Okay, when we very first got on the phone, before we hit record, Gabby said, how are you? And I said, well, you know what? I wonder if the anxiety girlies can relate because for the past 2 days, I've had so much to do, and we always have a lot to do. But in my body, I have felt like I'm in a rush out the door and I'm forgetting what to grab. But it's been like that's the feeling, sensation in my body for 48 hours straight. I've just kind of felt like this, that kind of like shaky, like, oh, we gotta go, we gotta go, we gotta go. So I think when I think highly of myself in my body, I feel centered. Quite frankly, I kind of feel, maybe I'm thinking of this because I just watched the Pamela Anderson doc and it made me cry. I feel empowered in my sensuality. I feel empowered in what I look like. I feel very, how do I describe? It is hard to describe physical sensations. I feel open. I feel like my energetic boundaries are strong, yet I'm like kind of radiating love. And I feel very connected to source. There's no other way for me to say that. And I know that sounds woo-woo, but I just feel like super tapped in, really calm, cool, kind of like, it's such grounded. It's the feeling I felt growing up as a dancer. When you're like really in the flow and kind of just like like you feel strong in your core and centered, but also like really loose and kind of connected and free. Like that's what it feels like.
What does it feel like when other people are speaking highly about you to you?
I think it depends on where I'm at and who's saying it. Sometimes it feels really nice and it really hits. And I like to say like, I receive that or I take that. Thank you so much. And sometimes I feel like, how do you know? You know what I mean? And not that I'm trying to reject it, but just like, it's really, I think I am pretty secure in terms of like who I think I am. And it's very interesting to watch how other people perceive you.
But that's a really cool like growth step that you've had of being able to sit back and not be in the driver's seat of that.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
you watch that a lot in real time.
But I'm in that. I journaled about that yesterday about
really
feeling a weird disconnect between inner me and outer me.
Oh, let's talk about it.
But that's like shit that Surrender Experiment brought up. But yeah, it's just that and how I feel about this question too is like I'm still working through letting go of the outer version of me.
The projected Gabby that you had since high school.
And like letting go of like other people's perceptions of it. And not even, it's like, obviously it's morphed and changed and everything as I've gotten older. But like, I don't know, I think I do a lot of stuff in my life that just, I sometimes something comes out of my mouth and I'm like, why the fuck did I say that? Because it's like not what I mean. It's not what I feel.
Yeah.
No, but I'm just doing it to like appease other people because I'd rather not be uncomfortable in a moment with them than like actually like say what I mean, or I withhold, which I think is a healthier thing. But I don't know. Yeah, I've just been having a weird time with like disconnect, like just grappling with like the concept of like an inner and outer version of you.
Or like almost integrating the two more.
Yeah. It's been weird. And I feel like I have been my most limiting obstacle when it comes to growth, particularly in my career, because of that. Because I'll find myself doing things where I'm like, why are you spending time doing that? Because it has nothing to do with what you're trying to do, but you're just trying to like, I don't know. I don't know if I even like, I'm ready to verbalize.
You're still actively
so I'll tell you after.
It. Yeah.
Yeah. But to answer the question, I guess I feel similarly when like I do feel very highly, when I'm in those spaces where I feel highly, I feel very centered and really grounded and like rooted into the earth in a way.
Yeah. You fucking earth sign.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I'm like just morphing into like a tree. I feel, I feel very sensual too. I like that you said that.
Right?
And I feel very smooth.
Ooh.
As if you're like floating.
Oh
do you know
God,
what I mean?
Such a good adjective. Yeah, smooth. I love that.
Yeah. But when other people say it, my immediate is like, you're just saying that, or thank you so much, but like, what do you know?
Yeah.
Do you know what happened to me at acupuncture the other day? It was really funny.
Of course, it was Dr. Michelle.
It was with Dr. Michelle. It was really cold. And she usually has the windows open, but I was like really, really cold. So I was like kind of shaking when we were talking, and I was laying on the table and she was always like checking your pulse and stuff. So she was like holding my wrist and we were talking, and she was complimenting us on the podcast and how much she enjoyed our conversation, and like how much her husband was saying that like, you told me that it was such a great episode, and that like, he really enjoyed you and I as hosts and blah, blah, blah. And so she was giving us all these like great compliments, but I was like shivering. I didn't want to interrupt her to be like, hey, can you close the window? Or like, can I have a blanket? So I was letting her talk, and she was like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, are you like cold? And I was like, yeah, I'm actually really cold. And she was like, okay, because I was about to say, like, we have a lot more to work through because you're like, and I'm like, this girl is like shaking when I'm like trying, like, she really doesn't know how to receive compliments. I was like, no, I have freezing.
Yeah, goosebumps all over
and
my
I'm uncomfortable, but like, I'm also cold.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah, she's great. Her. Okay, should we move on to another one?
Yeah, we're already 30 minutes in, so let's try to do rapid speed.
Okay. Where did I put
also just because I have to pee?
Found them. Oh, I have to pee too. Where the fuck did it? Okay, I got it. Sorry, I keep losing my note.
That's okay.
Okay, when I'm overwhelmed, good, because you've been talking about this. When I'm overwhelmed, more practices make me feel centered, grounded, and stable.
Meditation.
Great.
I noticed that while I've been feeling this weird anxiety in my body, the past 2 days I haven't meditated. So I immediately meditated last night. I watched my ASMR Reiki videos and I made sure I meditated and did breath work this morning. And I still feel it a little bit, probably because I'm on my second cup of coffee, but I feel a significant reduction than I did the previous 2 days.
Great. Love it.
What about you?
I was going to say breath work. I usually close my eyes and like take really deep breaths.
Did I get you on Andrew Huberman yet? The physiological sigh? Physiological sigh is like the double inhale, exhale is really powerful too. So it's like, and then you sip in a little more, and then, that's chemically very good for you.
I did I'm going to try that. I did a new breathwork exercise with Dr. Michelle that I really liked, which has been helpful.
Oh, will you tell me later?
Yeah. Okay.
That's why I had to did you see me get up to get my stress ball today? I was like, my body has too much energy that it needs to express. So I needed the stress ball all day.
Okay. What? Did it break?
I kind of broke it. Yeah, look.
That's okay. It's a stress ball. They crack. Yeah. Mine peeled. What does self-compassion mean to me in my daily life? Nourishment.
I love that.
Nourishing, whether I'm moving my body or feeding myself something that I like cooked. Or even like, where you're like, Gabby needs one of those days where she closes the blinds and like orders her favorite takeout. Like, just actually listening intently to what I'm asking for and giving it to myself without judgment.
Absolutely. The two things that immediately came up to, oh my God, it's ripping everywhere. I got to stop touching it. Sorry. The two things that came up to me immediately was like, one, well, I'm still in pajamas right now. So sometimes it's just kind of like going with the flow and doing that. And two, in my journal the other day, I think I've been hearing a lot about remothering yourself and kind of in reparenting yourself and that divine feminine and remothering and whatever. However, losing the parent that was truly my soulmate, that was my dad recently, meaning like in the past few days, I wrote in my journal, like treating myself like Kamo would treat me. Or like, what would Kamo give me right now if I said this to him? Or if I needed something and expressed
that to me, by the way.
Right? So I'm like, my new thing is like treating myself like if quite frankly, I know he's doing all he can on the other side of whatever this fucking life shit is. And so it is quite possibly the least I can do by giving myself what he would give to me too while I'm here.
I'm looking for my hair tie. I'm paying attention.
That's okay. I'm really upset that this is now like completely broken.
It's okay. That's the point of a stress ball, Meadow.
I know, but it's pretty.
Well, yeah.
Okay. We'll have to make our own now.
You have been saying that, and I've been really liking that you've been saying that because I feel like you've been using it as a way to protect yourself almost. There was one situation where you were like, my dad would have never fucking dare said that to me.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah. So it's really been in my head recently.
If I were to increase my confidence, how would my life be different?
Both of us.
I
think I would be less affected. I think of like almost small things. Like, you know how if you were, oh gosh, I don't know how to articulate this. Like if you're walking behind someone and they slam the door, sometimes for people, it's like, well, what did I do? Or sometimes for other people, it's like, well, they're a stranger, so it's easier to let go. But I just think that when I feel more confident or rooted in myself, it's so much easier to see everything else as a reflection of who they are, not I am. And I feel very, almost more unbiased to the situations and things that are going around me because it becomes such a reflection of what other people are going through or dynamics or something. And I really take things less personally. And then it just feeds kind of my confidence more. I'm not sure if I'm articulating that as well as I mean to, but
no, I understand what you're saying.
That comes up for me. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel that too, of like, I would take things less personally.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know. And again, I don't know if this is just me and my limiting beliefs, but I feel like I would be such a less anxiously attached person to things.
Totally.
Like with work or with people in my life.
I think I would be more creative without fear of perception.
Yeah.
In work.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to say something about that. So, new feature on TikTok. Who knew? Probably will never participate, but you can like make videos that are just for your friends. Like if you just follow each other.
Oh, yeah. I knew that. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm 100 years old. Anyway.
It's like a privacy setting, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. Teffy's been making some of those and I've been watching them and like they're really, she's just, it can be like a therapist sometimes.
Totally.
She made one the other day that was like, and I hope she doesn't mind me sharing it because it was on like a close friends, but I'm sure it's fine. She basically was like, make what you want to make, like create what you want to create. And she told the story of somebody who like everyone's just so obsessed with views and like what, people think is like cool. And she's like, all it takes is the assistant of an assistant of an assistant of an assistant of an agent to like see your video and take it to their boss. She's like, and then she told the story about somebody who was getting like 20 fucking views or like 200 views, but like Oprah saw it and like gave him a job.
Wow.
And I'm like, Oprah says so. But
it's just true that like the more authentic you are to yourself, not only does it resonate, but it just feels more fulfilling, whether or not you get that validation or not. It is true.
Also, well, I was just gonna say you're also more likely to be creating something that there's a need for because you're not just mimicking somebody else.
Absolutely. Really good point. Absolutely. I think that's interesting that you said that's where you saw it on TikTok too. I wonder if you relate to this as writers. When I write a long, heartfelt Instagram caption, feels like fucking nothing for me. Making a TikTok or the reason why I archived all my old YouTube videos is YouTube makes me feel the most vulnerable I've ever felt on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Like video format, and like you're saying, because I try to make them artsy and like because it feels such an expression of myself, I am so much more likely to be insecure and vulnerable in some type of way about any sort of video content, TikTok, YouTube, any of that, as opposed to writing. And it's so interesting because I had a friend recently say to me, like, when I read your Instagram captions to me, I'm like, I don't know how you do that. That's so vulnerable. But I could like make up a TikTok all day. And I'm like, oh my God, like it just never occurred to me. To me, I'm like, I can write every fucking thing in my heart, but something about the experience of writing, I so strongly feel like I'm owning my own narrative. Whereas expressing myself in video is something that is so creatively fulfilling and therefore so scary to share.
I totally feel that. I feel that a lot. Maybe for different reasons. I feel like with writing, it's easier to say everything. There's less room for nuance.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
there's
that's a
less
good point.
room for
That's a good point.
misinterpretation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas a format like TikTok or even YouTube where it's a 20, 30-minute video, there's a lot that can go wrong.
Or you're trying to say things through visual cues or editing or music even, that's like different than fucking saying it in words.
Yeah. It also just makes me insecure with like video content where I feel like I'm exposing myself more and it feels like we've had this conversation. It feels like it's like devaluing me.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. I understand. I feel that way too. Also, do you like how last episode we were both like, fuck TikTok, it's going to go away. Neither of us are using it. And now all week long, you and I have been posting on TikTok.
No, listen, relax. I posted 2 TikToks.
Yeah, they were very cute. I watched them today.
Thank you. I'm still not hopping on the train. I don't care.
I know.
You've been good at it. I don't.
TikTok though. People are really liking.
People are loving your world market TikTok. You should be doing food hauls.
Yeah, that was the example of me coming home and being like, is this what people mean by just being like going throughout your day and making a TikTok? Because I'm just trying to show Aaron what I got us at World Market. And I was like, fuck it, I'll film it. So it's true.
No, it was
like,
genius.
When you just kind of like have that, like, whatever this is what I'm doing in real time, the authenticity, like Teffy's saying, or just making whatever the fuck you want to make. It's fun. It lands.
All right, let's do one more.
Okay. I can't believe I'm coming up tomorrow. We have to plan our outfits.
I know. Oh, I don't have time to do that until tonight. I won't lie to you.
That's fine.
Okay. These are too much to go into right now, but I just want to give you a shout out of how much I liked the prompts that you wrote about our beliefs and like, did this belief start with me or with someone else? How does this belief keep me safe? Like, I really like that you put that one in there because I think a lot of times we like gloss over the beauty and like protectiveness of like patterns and beliefs. You know?
Thank you.
So I really like those, but I don't have it in me. Okay.
I also think when you see, sorry, just to elaborate, when you see and recognize the value that this belief keeps you safe or pattern or behavior or whatever it is, when you see that value, it's easier to identify like why you did that, thank that part of you, take that for where you need it, but also recognize when it doesn't serve you for this part in your life anymore and move on. Like you have to really acknowledge and thank that before stepping into something new. Anyway, keep going.
Okay, let's end with like a softball.
Okay. Love that for us.
What does my self-care routine look like?
Oh God.
What do I want it to look more like?
Softball? I could talk for fucking 12 hours about that.
Yeah, I know. But like give us like the like top 4.
Okay, you go first because I'll rip off you.
Okay. Definitely what I said earlier about the compassion thing of like giving myself what I need without judgment.
Yes. Love.
Being and feeling clean. I love a shower. Water is really cleansing and metaphorically, spiritually, literally in every way.
When you're like in the deepest depression and don't even want to get up to pee and rather get a UTI, a shower can physically transform the way you feel about yourself.
And and by the way, I'm not saying like that's because I like will in those moments want to get in the shower.
No, it's just you like, don't want to. That's the point. Yeah.
But it does make a big difference of just sitting there.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So feeling clean.
You physically wipe your hands clean of the day, of the energy. Anyway,
yeah, like washing my hair. That's really important. Like doing the whole thing in the shower.
Yeah.
And then that's why like skincare and stuff like that. Like when people are like, oh, it's frivolous. I'm like, no, it's like you're showing yourself an act of kindness. And why is that frivolous?
Where my thoughts used to vary. I wrote an entire essay called
I know you did.
Skincare is not self-care, but it was in 2017. And that's when I was like, because no one's actually talking about real self-care is. But
yeah, but there was nuance in there.
Take the time to yeah. Anyway, keep going.
Because your article was basically saying like no one's gonna sell you a face mask and it's gonna cure your fucking depression.
Yeah, that is what.
But
I was
like,
saying. Thank you.
The way that you use it
as mindfulness or your I have a new coping strategy, self-love routine that I got from Leora Alexandra. In the mornings when I make my coffee now, I take 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever it is, to sit there, drink my coffee and repeat affirmations to myself. And at first I was like, oh, I should see like what affirmations are good that I like. And then I was like, absolutely not. I know exactly what I need. So I went in my notes app in real time, just kind of like closed my eyes, took deep breaths and just wrote down any affirmation I can think of. And I repeat them to myself every day slowly while I drink my coffee. And it really makes me feel good.
Okay, I'm going to start doing that.
Yeah. It's really fun.
That should be a fun tidbit that everyone can take away from this episode to start doing that.
It's really nice.
I've
been enjoying it at least. The other one I got from her in the same video was the words today. What's it called?
Hard.
Vision board. Doing like a Pinterest or manifestation vision board and putting it as a widget on your phone, because you all know you can't manifest alone with vision boards. It takes the deeper work. However, visual cues to kind of imbue a feeling and connect to that feeling of how you want to feel is really, really helpful. So I made a 2023 vision board on Pinterest. I had to make it public in order to do this. So go look if you want. It's called 333. And I have it as like a little thing. So every hour, my images of my vision board cycle through on my phone. So every time I open my phone, I can look at it and be like, ooh, like, why did I put that there? What was the reasoning or manifestation behind it? Let me connect to that feeling. And where in my day right now can I like feel this feeling or bring that in?
Ooh, I think I'm gonna do that.
Really fun.
Okay, those are 2 really fun, actionable tools for the team. Thank you.
Those are mine. And I've literally started those last week. They're brand new for me and I've been very much enjoying them.
I love that.
Yeah.
Great.
You said you had 4 things though, and I kept interrupting you. Do you have one more?
No, I don't know.
Okay, cool. Let's go.
I like what you said too.
We're over it. Let's go.
We both gotta pee. It's just time.
Happy Valentine's Day. We love you.
Yeah. What Meadow said.
That part.
That part. All right.
Oh, can I tell you what I got Aaron?
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't listen to the podcast. He doesn't know. While he was proposing to me, we were listening to the album of a specific artist. And I didn't know that artist also makes art. And so I bought him a print from the artist whose album was playing while we got engaged in a big frame for it.
Stop.
Isn't that really cute?
That's really cute.
And we never get gifts for Valentine's Day. So I had to warn him. I was like, we never do Valentine's Day gifts, but just so you know, I kind of fucking nailed it this year. So get me something.
I'm dead. I love that. Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah, it's cute.
All right.
Love you so much. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
We're vlogging, right?
Yeah.
Should I vlog on my way up?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
All right. So many things to do, so little time.
I know. We gotta go. TTY.
All right. Thanks for listening. Go buy our journal.
Ciao. See you, Jade.
How's it going, y'all? It's Aaron. Don't let your Monday suck. Don't have those Sunday scaries. I'm tired of everybody waking up in the week saying, shit, it's Monday. You know what goes down? TMV releases every week on Mondays. Make sure you rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're watching YouTube, yes, TMV has a YouTube, be sure to subscribe and ring that noti bell and never miss a thing. And also, join the TMV Familia by joining the Thoughts May Vary Patreon and by following @ThoughtsMayVaryPod on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you for listening.
Great.
There you go.
Thanks, AB.
Gotcha.